Welcome back to Crime Documentary Files. Today we'll be diving into two shocking cases that have captivated the public in China and Taiwan. At first glance, this seemed like a simple story of a young man deeply in love, generously spending money on his girlfriend, and tragically jumping into a river after their breakup. A typical tale of an innocent guy falling for a gold digger. Across China and beyond, people expressed their sympathy for the young man. However, as the investigation unfolded, the truth turned out to be far more complicated. The online nickname Pang Mao belonged to Liu Jie, born in 2003 in Hunan, China. He grew up in a family of 5, with an older sister and a younger sister. However, his parents divorced when he was young. He was raised primarily by his mother and older sister. Rumors suggest that after the divorce, his mother paid little attention to him, and it was his older sister who took on the responsibility of caring for him. As a result, the bond between Pang Mao and his sister was exceptionally strong. After finishing middle school, Pang Mao did not continue his education. Since childhood, he had a deep passion for video games, and by this time, he had already demonstrated exceptional skill in online gaming. He eventually became a professional gamer. A big fan of the character Meng Qi from the game Honor of Kings, he chose Pang Mao as his gaming ID. The female lead in this story is Tan Zhu, from Shizhou, Chongqing, born in 1997. She was also an avid Honor of Kings player. Their fateful encounter took place on November 19, 2021, a date that would mark a turning point in Pang Mao's life. That day, Tan Zhu was looking for a game partner to hire, and she happened to choose Pang Mao. Despite a 6-year age gap, their shared passion for gaming helped them connect effortlessly. As they continued playing together, their conversations grew more frequent, and they bonded over their common interests. On Christmas Eve 2021, just over a month after they first met, Pang Mao and Tan Zhu officially became a couple. At this point, they had never even met in person. According to the police investigation, their first real-life meeting took place in March 2022, when they arranged a trip to Changsha. Also joining them were Pang Mao's younger sister and her boyfriend. Over the next year, their relationship remained relatively stable. By February 2023, trouble began to brew. Perhaps due to the strain of long distance, their arguments increased, and small conflicts kept piling up. They even broke up and reconciled multiple times. During this period, Tan Zhu issued an ultimatum. She told Pang Mao, "I don't want to do long distance anymore," and demanded that he move to Chongqing to be with her. The distance between Hunan and Chongqing is over 600 miles. Relocating wasn't as easy as flipping a switch. After 6 months of back-and-forth discussions, Pang Mao finally left Changzhou, Hunan, his birthplace and hometown, in October last year, and moved to Chongqing, the city of Tan Zhu. However, the same girlfriend who once insisted on living together in Chongqing now felt uncomfortable with the idea. She told him she wasn't ready to live together right away, suggesting instead that they wait until marriage, and encouraged Pang Mao to rent his own place. At the time, Pang Mao accepted this without complaint. He reasoned that, since he had already moved to Chongqing and was now close to Tan Zhu, their future together was still bright. He settled into a rented apartment near her home, believing that their love story would continue smoothly. During this time, Tan Zhu frequently complained to Pang Mao about her financial struggles, paying off her mortgage, not having enough money, wanting to get a vaccine, and planning trips with friends. She often asked him to send her money directly. Being devoted to her, Pang Mao regularly gave Tan Zhu spending money. To make things more convenient, the two of them set up a shared savings account through Alipay's Little Pocket Love Season program, allowing both of them to freely deposit and withdraw money. At this point, the physical distance between them had disappeared, and their relationship seemed to be flourishing. In November 2023, after nearly 2 years of dating, Tan Zhu officially announced their relationship on WeChat Moments. However, she didn't forget to ask Pang Mao to buy her a bracelet worth 10,000 yuan as well. Before that, Tan Zhu had expressed interest in opening a flower shop and asked Pang Mao to invest 40,000 yuan to help her get started. They began preparing for this venture together. According to police reports, Pang Mao eventually invested 70,000 yuan, while Tan Zhu managed the shop, which officially opened in December. On February 7th, 2024, just before the Chinese New Year, Pang Mao, as a devoted boyfriend, traveled to Tanju's hometown to meet her parents and family. Everything seemed to be moving in the direction he had always dreamed of. Then came March 2024, Tanju's birthday. Pang Mao gifted her an iPhone. However, even that couldn't stop her from growing distant. She gradually became cold toward him, ignoring his messages, refusing to stay in touch, and eventually suggesting a breakup. Pang Mao refused. At this point, it had only been a month since he had met her family. When Pang Mao asked why she wanted to break up, Tanju gave no real explanation. She simply said that she didn't feel right about the relationship, that something was off, and that they just weren't compatible. Pang Mao wasn't ready to give up. He urged her to stay calm and reconsider, even reminding her that if she needed money, she could still ask him for help. But just 2 days later, on March 14th, Tanju once again pushed for a breakup. Over the next few weeks, the two continued to argue and go back and forth over the breakup. Finally, on April 5th, Tanju sent him a final message. Take some time to calm down and live your own life. On the night of April 10th, at 9:12 p.m., Pang Mao made one last attempt to reach out, but Tanju coldly shut him down. Her response was firm. Stop thinking about it. We're already broken up. Still holding on to hope, Pang Mao offered to transfer the remaining money in their Alipay little pocket to her, but she refused. She told him, "Why would you send that to me? You're still young. You need money too. You can't play games forever. You should save for your own future. Don't give it to me." At 9:44 p.m. in complete despair, Pang Mao transferred 66,666 yuan to Tanju, labeling it as a voluntary gift. Then, at 2:04 a.m. on April 11th, he sent his final message to her. We're done. At 3:26 a.m., he ordered a bouquet of roses from Tanju's flower shop, worth 780 yuan. He included a note saying no delivery was needed, seemingly commemorating the 780 days they had been together. Just an hour later, Pang Mao jumped off the Changjiang Bridge in Chongqing. 1,000 miles away from home, in the endless silence of the night, beneath the icy waters of the Changjiang River, a young life came to an abrupt end. On April 23rd, police recovered Pang Mao's body from the river in Changsha district. On May 3rd, his body was cremated. When he left this world, he was only 21 years old. After his passing, his older sister Liu Jialing obtained his phone. As she scrolled through his messages and transaction history with Tanju, her anger only grew. Although Pang Mao had a steady income, every cent he earned was through hard work. His job grinding in video games paid only 20 to 25 yuan per session, and he often sat for dozens of hours at a time to make ends meet. Yet, he hardly spent any money on himself. When ordering food, he always chose the cheapest options, usually costing no more than 10 yuan, sometimes as low as 4.9 yuan, with the most expensive meals only reaching 14 yuan. There was even a time when he canceled a 12.5 yuan order just to reorder a cheaper 11.9 yuan meal to save 0.6 yuan by bundling deliveries. As a result, he sometimes had to wait until 10 or even 11 p.m. just to eat dinner. Liu Jialing recalled that her brother was 5 feet 10 inches tall. When he left Hunan for Chongqing, he weighed 235 pounds, but by the time of his death, he had dropped to just 209 pounds. In stark contrast to his frugal lifestyle, Pang Mao sent thousands, even tens of thousands of yuan to his girlfriend every month. Between October 22nd and November 5th alone, in just a little over 10 days, he had transferred 15,000 yuan to her. During a live stream, Liu Jialing revealed that as his older sister, she had never taken a single cent from Pang Mao. The only time she ever asked for anything was during the previous Chinese New Year, when she playfully begged him for a bottle of foundation worth 430 yuan. She firmly believed that her brother had been scammed, and Tanju was undeniably a gold digger. Not only had she drained his money and emotions, but he ultimately paid for it with his life. Determined to expose the truth, Liu Jialing began posting screenshots of their chat history and bank transfers on social media. The story quickly went viral, drawing huge public attention and discussion. As it spread, some netizens even recognized Pang Mao, remembering that he was the same player who had once boosted their gaming ranks. One of them shared a message from Pang Mao himself, where he had said, "I have to work hard to make money because my girlfriend has high expenses." Soon, public outrage started boiling over. The wave of sympathy for Pang Mao and condemnation of Tan Zhu grew stronger by the day. By early May, the case had completely dominated social media, with hashtags like Pang Mao incident, Pang Mao jumped into the river, and Pang Mao cremation repeatedly trending at the top of social platforms. At this point, Liu Jialing began live streaming to interact with the public, crying as she described her brother's struggles and accused Tan Zhu of being a manipulative gold digger. She also revealed that after Pang Mao's death, Tan Zhu showed no sadness or guilt whatsoever. Instead, she continued living her life as if nothing had happened, frequently posting selfies on social media. To make matters worse, she refused to meet with Pang Mao's grieving family and had never issued a single apology. With tears streaming down her face, Liu Jialing's heartfelt breakdown left viewers devastated. Some netizens even commented, "I didn't cry this hard even after my own breakup." The public fury against Tan Zhu intensified. The court of social media had begun its emotional trial. Tan Zhu's personal information was leaked, and soon her home address and flower shop became the target of crowds gathering and harassment. Her Alipay account received numerous small transfers, each accompanied by insulting messages. Death threats against her also began spreading across the internet. Even though Pang Mao was gone, his story continued to gain traction, touching the hearts of many. One particular phrase he said before his passing deeply resonated with people. "In my next life, I don't want to eat 10 yuan meals anymore. I want to eat McDonald's." Moved by these words, on May 1st, countless netizens ordered food deliveries en masse to the Changjiang Bridge in Chongqing, the place where Pang Mao had jumped. So many orders flooded in that some even left delivery notes requesting, "If there's no space on the bridge, just leave it by the riverbank." As the piles of food grew, strange things began to happen. People noticed that many of the delivery boxes were empty. Some cups contained only water, hamburger boxes had no burgers, and meals arrived with missing items or underweight portions. To make matters worse, some people ordered fresh flowers to honor Pang Mao through express delivery, but later discovered that after the delivery drivers took a proof of delivery photo, they would secretly take the flowers back to resell them. This blatant profiteering off grief infuriated netizens once again. While everyone knew that Pang Mao could never actually eat the food, the idea that unscrupulous businesses would exploit this tragedy for profit, turning an act of remembrance into a money-making scheme, was beyond immoral. After these revelations, the Chongqing Municipal Market Supervision Bureau launched an investigation. Businesses scrambled to control the backlash, issuing public apologies. Brands like Mixue, Zhu Xiaoxiag, Luosifen, Hualaishi, Chabaidao, and others released statements contacting customers to apologize, firing implicated employees, issuing full refunds, and even offering tenfold compensation for fraudulent orders. Some businesses shut down their stores entirely and made charitable donations in Pang Mao's name. However, the bizarre events didn't stop there. A cosplay group calling themselves Phantom Thieves of Stars arrived at the bridge, claiming they would steal all the food, and actually began taking food from the memorial site, posting photos of their actions online. Meanwhile, an even more cunning stunt emerged. Someone uploaded a fake apology video pretending to be Tan Zhu, begging for forgiveness from Pang Mao and the public. That same evening, the fake Tan Zhu went live streaming, urging viewers to send her gifts and virtual donations. However, her deception was quickly exposed, and she faced legal consequences for impersonation and fraud. At the same time, outrageous rumors flooded the internet. A user claiming to be a PR manager at an LGBTQ+ bar declared that Tan Zhu had been cheating on Pang Mao all along and was actually a lesbian. Screenshots of alleged infidelity messages surfaced. As the chaos escalated, fake chat logs began circulating, falsely accusing Tanju of prostitution and illegal activities. The public discussion about Pang Mao's case started spiraling out of control, turning into an online witch hunt. The verbal abuse and threats against Tanju grew increasingly extreme, reaching a dangerous level of mob justice. On May 19, 2024, after an extensive investigation and case review, the police released an official statement regarding Pang Mao's case, the young man who jumped off the bridge in Chongqing on April 11th. This viral case that had gripped social media was finally closed. However, the statement's findings regarding responsibility shocked many netizens. First, the police confirmed that Pang Mao and Tanju had been in a legitimate romantic relationship since December 24, 2021. Both had used their real identities, met each other's families, and publicly acknowledged their relationship. Financially, they had mutual exchanges, joint savings, and shared future plans, indicating a genuine relationship. The police found no evidence that Tanju had fabricated lies or concealed the truth to deceive Pang Mao for financial gain, meaning her actions did not constitute fraud. Second, the police verified the financial transactions between Pang Mao and Tanju throughout their relationship. From November 2021 to April 11, 2024, Pang Mao had transferred approximately 799,000 yuan to Tanju, while Tanju had sent a total of 463,000 yuan to Pang Mao and his family. This included 297,000 yuan directly to Pang Mao, 30,000 yuan to his sister Liu Jialing, 136,000 yuan refunded 2 days after Pang Mao's passing at the request of Pang Mao's father. This refund included 70,000 yuan from the flower shop investment and 66,000 yuan that Pang Mao had voluntarily sent before his death. Pang Mao's father acknowledged the repayment via WeChat, stating, "There's no need to return any other past expenses. I only accept the repayment for the flower shop investment and the final transfer." This confirmation meant that there were no longer any financial disputes related to the relationship. Additionally, the police disclosed details about their Alipay joint savings account, Alipay Couples Wallet. Between January 5, 2022 and April 8, 2024, Tanju deposited 236,000 yuan and withdrew 165,000 yuan. Pang Mao deposited 73,000 yuan but withdrew 248,000 yuan. At this point, Pang Mao's sister, Liu Jialing, was found guilty of deliberately misleading public opinion, which constituted a violation of the law. As a result, multiple social media accounts under her name were banned. The police report revealed that Liu Jialing had openly stated her goal was to make Tanju's life miserable and ensure she paid a price. She and her younger sister had orchestrated an online harassment campaign against Tanju. Their tactics included registering multiple social media accounts to manipulate public sentiment, repeatedly leaking Tanju's personal information, hiring ghostwriters to craft narratives that would frame Tanju as a gold digger and a scammer, painting Pang Mao as a human ATM who had been used by Tanju. Even before recording their emotional live streams, the sisters planned out their performances, deciding how exhausted they should appear, how much distress they should express, how to make themselves look more pitiful, whether they should apply minimal or no makeup to enhance the image of grief and suffering. Furthermore, they paid for promotional boosts on social media platforms to spread their narrative and increase online visibility. The police report also stated that Liu Jialing's actions led to widespread online harassment and abuse directed at Tanju. The situation escalated to death threats, severely disrupting Tanju's personal life and creating mass chaos in the online space. The official police statement immediately sparked a new wave of heated debates online, with two distinct viewpoints emerging. Many netizens believed that Tanju, as a true gold digger, did not receive adequate legal punishment, making her unworthy of Pang Mao. Some users, hoping to prevent future tragedies like Pang Mao's, summarized key traits to identify gold diggers. They subtly hint at wanting financial support, act hot and cold toward you, and create unnecessary drama. They have no stable job, but frequently visit luxury spots, always well-dressed and showcasing their looks, constantly traveling to build a high-class image. They are experts at branding themselves, whether through working out, studying, or owning pets, all designed to present an idealized, hardworking, and sophisticated lifestyle. Meanwhile, another group of netizens, after carefully reading and analyzing the 2,500-word police report, argued that while Tan Zhu did receive significant financial support from Pang Mao, she also had her own expenses during their relationship. Their financial exchanges were mutual and voluntary, and their romantic relationship was genuine. Additionally, Tan Zhu actively refunded the money Pang Mao had transferred to her after his passing and reached a settlement agreement with his father. Therefore, from a legal standpoint, there was no fraud. On the other hand, due to the malicious online campaign orchestrated by Pang Mao's sister, Tan Zhu became an unintended victim of cyber harassment. Some even pointed out that the number of followers on Pang Mao's sister's account skyrocketed from 263 on April 22nd to a peak of 2.9 million, raising suspicions that she might have used this situation to gain fame and prepare for a future as a live-stream influencer. Beyond the tragic love story of Pang Mao, which moved countless people to tears, this case also highlights the issue of cyber harassment. While it is deeply regrettable that such a young man lost his life, and he could have had the opportunity to pursue new dreams if he had maintained a stronger sense of rationality, we should not overlook the broader issue at play: how to prevent and combat online bullying. We hope that everyone can develop stronger independent thinking skills, improve their media literacy, and be more cautious about public events and their words to prevent fueling unjust online outrage. The second story we will explore today revolves around a real-life female demon. Not only was she beautiful and highly manipulative, but she also possessed a level of cruelty and greed so extreme that she meticulously planned multiple attempts to murder her own relatives just to seize their assets. The case began on August 23, 2018, when a seminar titled Strategic Analysis of U.S. Stock and Forex Trading was held in Taipei. Early bird tickets were priced at 999 new Taiwan dollars. The woman smiling confidently on the event poster was none other than Chen Liting. While the event details were vague, what stood out were her impressive titles, including Taiwan's #1 female trader, Taiwan event organizer for Jim Rogers, founder of the Quantum Fund, and the most eye-catching one of all, the Queen of Wall Street. Born in 1983, Chen Liting held dual bachelor's degrees in geology and chemical engineering from National Taiwan University. However, compared to her so-called legendary rise to wealth, her academic background was just a minor footnote. Chen claimed to have come from poverty, which, according to her, was what drove her interest in investing and achieving financial freedom from an early age. However, an investigative report from Yahoo News later revealed that Chen's father actually came from a wealthy family in Dong Taipei, where he and his 3 siblings had inherited a significant fortune. After their grandparents passed away, the family became embroiled in multiple legal disputes over their assets. While Chen's rags to riches narrative was questionable, these disputes did lead to a decline in her standard of living and caused major conflicts within her family. After graduating from university, Chen did not pursue a conventional career. Instead, she traveled to Japan to study at Le Cordon Bleu Culinary Academy before returning to Taiwan to open a Western-style restaurant. This was her first attempt at running a business, and it exposed many of her weaknesses as an entrepreneur, including choosing the wrong location, overpricing her menu, and having little understanding of cost management. These critical mistakes quickly led to the restaurant's failure and taught Chen a harsh lesson about the difficulties of running a traditional business. During this period, Chen began attending numerous finance courses. While most students enrolled to learn investment strategies in hopes of building wealth, Chen's ambitions were different. She realized that teaching finance was far more lucrative and effortless than actually trading. By paying for media exposure, embedding herself in existing financial circles, and building a public persona, she quickly positioned herself as an authority in the field, securing a steady stream of tuition revenue from eager students. Chen then immersed herself in the MMI system, short for Millionaire Mind Intensive. This program marketed itself as more than just a motivational seminar. It claimed to be a way of life, offering an unlimited approach to financial planning and promoting transforming your relationship with money. From top to bottom, The course structure bore a striking resemblance to a multi-level marketing scheme, but for Chen, it was a perfect fit. She quickly climbed the ranks within seminars and workshops, advancing from a senior student to a group discussion instructor. By 2016, Chen finally founded her own financial education institution, Great Trading Studio. And yes, the great in the name was a word she had chosen herself to sound more prestigious. Chen Liting branded herself as Teacher Great and embarked on her money-harvesting journey. She self-proclaimed to be the Taiwan event organizer for Jim Rogers, the founder of the Quantum Fund, and flaunted her photos with the Commodities King to establish her credibility. This strategy successfully attracted countless ordinary people longing for wealth. Using photos with celebrities to boost one's personal brand is an age-old trick, but Chen was still quite fond of it. Her photo collection included not only former UK Prime Minister David Cameron, but also former US President George W. Bush. In media interviews, Chen claimed that she stumbled upon stock trading and initially started with 100,000 new Taiwan dollars. After the 2008 financial crisis, she shifted her focus to Wall Street, where she allegedly made $500,000 in a single week and was even granted an audience with the US president because of her success. According to her, her net worth had already surpassed 100 million new Taiwan dollars by the time she started her financial career. When asked why she still needed to teach classes despite her massive wealth, Chen generously declared, "My initial dream was to earn $1 million, but within just 5 years of trading, I had already achieved that goal. Now, I have a new dream, to share my trading secrets with more people so that they too can experience the joy of financial success." Over the past 17 years, I have helped hundreds of students achieve financial freedom. In this seminar, you will learn systematic trading analysis, step by step. Because of Chen's seemingly impressive track record, the tuition fees for her courses were staggeringly high. A beginner's Forex course cost 58,888 new Taiwan dollars. A 2-day stock trading workshop was priced at 250,000 new Taiwan dollars. However, such exorbitant fees did not match the poor online reviews of her financial education center. Many students criticized her courses as shallow and lacking substance, filled mostly with her personal experiences rather than practical financial knowledge. By the time a flood of complaints reached the police, Chen had already raked in 30 million new Taiwan dollars in tuition fees. In reality, many of her students spent a huge amount of money only to receive access to a single trading indicator. The amount of money they paid determined their membership level, and Chen would periodically send them trading indicators that allegedly analyzed entry points, price levels, and market trends. However, those who blindly followed her indicators lost money repeatedly, draining their life savings, until they could no longer bear it and finally reported her to the authorities. At this point, the fraudster could no longer escape scrutiny. Since Chen lacked any financial certification, prosecutors indicted her for violating the Securities Investment Trust and Consulting Act. The first trial sentenced her to 3 years in prison. The Queen of Wall Street showed a terrible attitude during her first trial. She refused to return the fraudulent money and denied any wrongdoing. However, in the appeal trial, she suddenly changed her stance, pleading guilty in exchange for a lighter sentence, which was reduced to 1 year in prison with 4 years of probation and a fine of 1.5 million new Taiwan dollars. The self-help book on financial success that she had planned to publish died before it could even be released, and the once glamorous financial guru found herself behind bars. But this is far from the end of Chen Liting's story. On the afternoon of September 29, 2013, chaos erupted in a residential building on Keelung Road, Xinyi District, Taipei. The stairwell door, which was usually open, had been locked shut, and from inside, faint cries for help could be heard. The sharp-eared neighbor heard the commotion and went outside to check, only to witness a horrifying scene. A middle-aged woman lay on the ground, her head bleeding profusely, while another woman pinned her down, seemingly ignoring her weak cries for help, with a hammer wrapped in cloth clenched tightly in her hand. Had it not been for the neighbor shouting, "What are you doing?" the hammer raised high in the air might have struck down once more. The woman holding the hammer was Ching Ching, and the woman lying on the ground was her sister-in-law. Ching Ching brushed it off, saying, "I just had a quarrel with my sister-in-law, and we both fell down the stairs. This is just a family matter, nothing to worry about." But such an explanation was obviously unconvincing to the neighbor. The neighbor immediately called the police. Paramedics rushed the critically injured sister-in-law to the hospital, while Ching Ching was arrested on the spot, still in possession of the murder weapon. When police knocked on Ching Ching's door for further investigation, a young woman appeared before them. It was none other than the once famous Queen of Wall Street, Chen, Ching Ching's daughter. Facing the police at her doorstep, she feigned ignorance, pretending not to know that a brutal attack had just unfolded outside her home. Naturally, she also had no idea that her acting skills were completely useless at this point. Thanks to timely medical intervention, the sister-in-law's condition stabilized. Despite suffering a traumatic brain injury and multiple lacerations, she remained conscious. She told the police, "I was attacked by two people," and also recalled hearing Ching Ching telling her daughter to run. Inside the mother-daughter duo's home, police discovered multiple crime plans. A forensic examination of their electronic devices further revealed that they had repeatedly searched for legal information about turning themselves in and reducing sentences. The premeditation behind the attack sent chills down the investigators' spines. The level of detail in these plans was disturbing. They had even calculated the precise height and angle for striking with the hammer to ensure a fatal blow. The original plan was for Ching Ching to ambush her sister-in-law by the elevator on the 8th floor, knock her unconscious, and transport her to a waiting accomplice in the underground garage. This accomplice would then drive her away and stage a fake car accident. A security camera in the basement had even captured footage of Ching Ching just minutes before the attack, pushing a newly purchased cart, which was likely intended to transport her sister-in-law's body. Although Ching Ching and Chen meticulously rehearsed their cover-up story, they did not anticipate their victim's fierce resistance. With the plan falling apart, Ching Ching called her daughter down from the 13th floor. The mother and daughter worked together to drag the injured woman into the stairwell, where they mercilessly struck the back of her head and side of her face with the hammer. At that moment, humanity was completely devoured by greed and brutality as fresh blood pooled around their victim. That is, until the neighbor rushed in, abruptly ending their insane scheme. Compared to Ching Ching, Chen was even more composed, almost like a seasoned criminal. After managing to escape, she calmly returned home, changed out of her blood-stained clothes, and greeted the police with an innocent look as if nothing had happened. Had it not been for her aunt barely clinging to life and the unfinished crime documents still in her possession, it's frightening to imagine how far this could have gone. So, what was the true motive behind this horrifying attack? Why did a mother and daughter resort to such ruthless violence against their own family? You probably remember that after Chen's paternal grandparents passed away, their family fell apart due to inheritance disputes, causing Chen to feel that her financial situation had plummeted uncontrollably. However, in reality, her standard of living was still far better than that of the average person. After her father passed away, she and her mother still owned 2 luxury villas in downtown Taipei, yet they were not satisfied. They began plotting to take back the family assets that had already been distributed to Chen's paternal aunts, who were her father's younger sisters. The mother and daughter firmly believed that the 3 aunts, being women, should not have inherited any family wealth. Thus, they constantly harassed them over the years. The youngest aunt, who lived in the same building as them, became the primary target of their resentment and anger. Since they lived in the same building, Chen, with her calculating nature, had long memorized her aunt's daily routines. For example, they deliberately chose to attack her on a day when she had just returned from the gym, a time when she would be relaxed but also physically exhausted. What's even more disturbing is that this wasn't the first time the mother and daughter had shown murderous intent. Despite her glamorous appearance, Chen had been plotting to steal her aunt's wealth for years. Between June and July 2022, she instructed her mother, Ching Ching, to break into the aunt's home, steal her identification documents, and fraudulently take out a mortgage on her property. But the most shocking part was that by forging legal documents, Chen had made herself the aunt's adopted daughter. Meanwhile, Ching Ching, using forged paperwork, played the role of both Chen's biological mother and the aunt herself. Their goal was clear: They knew their aunt was single with no children and wanted to secure her inheritance for themselves. With her aunt's house as collateral, Chen, obsessed with luxury, began taking out massive loans and living a lavish lifestyle. But their scam was quickly exposed. When the aunt started receiving debt collection calls, she confronted the mother and daughter. Perhaps out of lingering familial affection, she chose not to call the police immediately, instead demanding that Chen and Qing sign a written statement admitting their wrongdoing. However, this played right into the hands of the two devils in disguise. Qing took charge of the negotiations, sweet-talking her elderly sister into going home and resting, while at the same time calling Chen to discuss their next move. As we mentioned earlier, the aunt lived alone, with only an elderly boyfriend as her companion. Seizing this opportunity, Chen came up with a sinister plan. She enlisted two male accomplices, Yang Rujie and Zhan Shunxiong, who, as we now know, were also involved in the previous failed murder attempt. In August 2022, the four conspirators stormed into the aunt's home, tied up and gagged both the aunt and her elderly boyfriend with ropes and duct tape, and forced them to sign an extremely one-sided agreement. The document stated that Chen would be allowed to use the aunt's real estate as collateral for loans for 3 years. The aunt and her boyfriend would waive all legal claims against Chen and Qing, both criminal and civil. Later, the aunt was seen crying to her neighbors, saying she couldn't understand why she was being oppressed over her own legally inherited property. The most heartbreaking part came just 2 months later, when her elderly boyfriend passed away, likely due to the trauma and deteriorating health caused by the ordeal. Perhaps his death gave her the final push she needed, or maybe her neighbors encouraged her to stand up for herself. But in November 2022, the aunt finally walked into the local court to apply for a personal protection order. It was only then that she made a shocking discovery. She had somehow gained an adopted daughter she had never agreed to, and that daughter was the very person trying to destroy her life. In addition to filing for a personal protection order, the aunt also began the legal process to revoke the fraudulent adoption of Chen. However, due to the complexity of the procedure and the fact that the aunt was already over 70 years old, the process moved slowly. This gave Chen and her mother the perfect opportunity. They believed that if they could kill the aunt before the adoption was officially annulled, her assets would still legally belong to them. The first murder attempt took place in August 2022, immediately after the aunt discovered that they had secretly taken out loans using her property. Their method was brutal yet straightforward. Qing contacted Yang Rujie and offered to pay him 2 million new Taiwan dollars to stab her sister-in-law to death. However, because they could not agree on a final price, the plan fell through. The second murder attempt happened nearly a year later, on September 26, 2023. By closely monitoring the aunt, Qing had memorized her daily routine. Every morning she would pass through Bada Road in the Songshan district on her way to the market. Conveniently, there was an empty storefront on that very street. Qing rented this storefront at an inflated price, and after discussing the plan with her daughter Chen Liding, they developed a new murder scheme. The plan was for Yang Rujie and Zhan Shunxiong to kidnap the aunt and detain her inside the shop, where they would stage her death as an accidental fall to avoid suspicion. Surveillance footage later captured the entire setup. The video shows Yang Rujie and his accomplice pacing near a bus stop, while the mastermind, Qing, hid inside the empty storefront to observe everything. She was even seen peeking out from time to check if the coast was clear. As soon as she spotted the aunt, she rushed forward and shoved her forcefully. However, luck was not on their side. A bystander nearby became suspicious and intervened just in time, preventing what could have been a fatal attack. After 2 failed attempts, Chen and Qing were absolutely furious. Determined to finish the job once and for all, they abandoned their previous strategies and, just 3 days after the second attempt, decided to take matters into their own hands, leading to the horrifying stairwell attack we discussed earlier. Fortunately, their ruthless plan failed once again, and this time, they would not get another chance. As the police predicted, Qing immediately denied that Chen had anything to do with the attack, trying to take full responsibility herself. Meanwhile, Chen aggressively protested her arrest, insisting she was completely innocent. She even had the audacity to claim that the police should arrest anyone connected to the case, not just her. She further pleaded for bail, arguing that the longer she remained in jail, the more her relatives would benefit from the inheritance dispute. What's even more outrageous is that Yang Rujie, the hitman who repeatedly participated in the murder attempts, also requested his detention order be lifted, citing the need to take care of his elderly parents. Perhaps he failed to grasp the irony. The aunt he had brutally assaulted, leaving her hospitalized with a head injury, was also an elderly person. Unsurprisingly, the Taipei District Court flatly denied all these absurd requests. The court ruled that the severity of their crimes was too great. There was a high risk of collusion between the defendants. Chen had actively attempted to destroy evidence, including disposing of blood-stained clothing and shoes, as well as trying to sneak back into Qingqing's house to remove more incriminating items. All of this clearly linked her to the crime. As the police continued their investigation, both previous murder attempts were officially uncovered, further exposing the full extent of their crimes. Combined with Chen's past financial fraud, it became evident that she possessed an extreme need for control and an exceptional ability to manipulate others psychologically. In every scheme she orchestrated, Chen never needed to lift a finger herself. A single phone call was all it took for her to command her mother, Qingqing, to handle everything. Even when her mother was arrested and faced imprisonment, Chen remained detached, adamantly insisting on her innocence. Her psychological resilience and emotional detachment were truly shocking. Years ago, when Chen was sued for illegally running financial courses, her mother, Qingqing, was always by her side. Now this mother-daughter loyalty charade was once again playing out in court, making the situation deeply ironic. Meanwhile, Qingqing, despite failing multiple murder attempts, tried to play the role of a remorseful mother. While in detention, she was reportedly seen copying Buddhist scriptures and sending them to the presiding judge, desperately attempting to display repentance. After 6 months of trial proceedings, the first instance verdict was finally delivered on July 4, 2024. Chen Liting and her mother were sentenced to 8 years in prison for attempted murder. For the additional charge of intentional injury, which surfaced after further police investigation, Chen and Qingqing received extra sentences of 1 year and 1 year and 1 month, respectively. Yang Rujie was sentenced to 3 years and 6 months for attempted murder, plus an additional 10 months for causing bodily harm. Zhan Xunxiong, who had not yet provided testimony, would be tried separately. This case serves as a harrowing reminder of how greed and ambition can completely erode basic human morality. A mother and daughter, driven by selfishness, betrayed their own family and even plotted multiple murders. Their actions were not just a flagrant violation of the law, but a complete and utter betrayal of human decency and conscience.